If the hand touches anything except the brush at any time, the scrub must be lengthened by 1 minute for the area that has been contaminated. Rinse hands and arms by passing them through the water in one direction only, from fingertips to elbow. Do not move the arm back and forth through the water. The steps may be repeated 3 times and as recommended by hospital infection control guidelines. Proceed to the operating room or suite, holding hands above elbows. At all times during the scrub procedure, care should be taken not to splash water onto surgical attire. Once in the operating room or the suite, hands and arms should be dried using a sterile towel and aseptic technique before putting on gown and gloves. Correct aseptic technique should be followed to wear sterile gloves without contaminating the sterile surface. Protocol for surgical scrub with an alcohol-based preparation. The steps are same as hand wash. Hand hygiene training program for doctors, nursing staff, and housekeeping staff needs to be done regularly for each category of staff. Hand hygiene compliance need to be monitored. PPE. Please follow appropriate instructions on donning and doffing personal protective equipment in operating room. It is good practice to discard all used theatre wear prior to leaving the operating area to prevent healthcare workers, patients, and visitors from being exposed to the risk of contamination. Healthcare personnel or HCPs in all areas. Wear dedicated non-sterile attire. Staff should keep their movements in and out of the operating room to a minimum. Semi-restricted and restricted areas of the surgical or invasive procedure setting. Wear clean surgical attire, including shoes, head covers, surgical masks, and identification badges. Head cover or cap should cover the hair on the head and face fully when entering the operating room. Surgical mask should cover the mouth and nose fully when entering operating room if an operation is about to begin or already underway, or if sterile instruments or equipment are exposed. Wear the mask throughout the operation. Scrub team members are required to put on sterile gloves after donning a sterile gown. Use surgical gowns that are effective barriers to liquid penetration. Skin preparation for surgical site disinfection. Perform hand hygiene. Wear appropriate PPE. Use disinfectants, for example, iodine compounds, followed by 70% alcohol. Cover with drape. Management of infected or colonized surgical personnel. Educate and encourage surgical personnel who have signs and symptoms of a transmissible infectious illness to report conditions promptly to their supervisory and occupational health service personnel.
Training of the hospital staff and repeated inculcation of the proper cleanliness culture, and these should be incorporated. This starts with the hospital staff themselves. So if some patient is some staff is having some active infection or some draining wounds or some infection, then they should avoid coming to the OT and these critical areas, and appropriate measures should be taken.
Antibiotic prophylaxis and mechanical bowel preparation. Administer an antibiotic prophylaxis only when indicated and select it based on its efficacy against the most common pathogens causing SSI for a specific operation and publish recommendations. Inform patients before the operation, whenever possible, if they will need antibiotic prophylaxis.
Second is antibiotic prophylaxis and mechanical bowel preparation. So these should be used very judiciously and only in patients in whom they are recommended. Not every patient requires antibiotic prophylaxis, and if they are overused, they will lead to antibiotic resistance.
Intraoperative measures. Ventilation and movement of staff. Follow the recommendations of the facility or local authorities on the ventilation requirements of an operating room. Keep operating room doors closed except as needed for passage of equipment, personnel, and patients. Limit the number of people entering the operating room to necessary personnel only. Asepsis and surgical technique. Adhere to standard principles of asepsis for all procedures, including placement of intravascular devices, spinal or epidural anesthesia catheters, and when dispensing and administering intravenous drugs. Assemble sterile equipment and solutions immediately prior to use. Handle tissue gently. Maintain effective hemostasis. Minimize devitalized tissue and foreign bodies, and eradicate dead space at the surgical site. Maintaining effective hemostasis. Maintain patient normothermia and prevent inadvertent perioperative hypothermia. Maintain optimal oxygenation during surgery and ensure that an appropriate hemoglobin saturation is maintained during surgery and recovery. Maintain adequate perfusion during surgery. Do not use intraoperative skin, re-disinfection, or antimicrobials in abdominal surgery to reduce the risk of surgical site infection.
Intraoperatively, it is important to use proper surgical technique, to use proper instruments, to cauterize the tissues properly, not to overuse the cautery, not to have hematomas, ensure proper hemostasis, and remove dead and devitalized tissues, and follow the proper procedures so that you have less incidence of post-operative infections.
Post-operative measures. The main purposes of surgical dressings are to allow appropriate assessment of the wound post-operatively, to absorb exudates, to ease pain, and to provide protection for newly forming tissues. Always ensure aseptic, non-touch dressing technique for the management of post-operative wound.
In the post-operative period, it is important that the proper care of the wound is taken, the proper dressings are done, and the best thing to do in post-operative wounds is to remove the dressing on probably second post-op day if it is not particularly infected, and clean it with a normal saline solution. And then if the wound is not infected, we can leave it open, or otherwise cover with a sterile gauze. And it is important to ensure that the patient's relatives and the patient's attendants are taught and they are made comfortable about the care of the wound, so that the post-operative period is smooth and without any problem. And these things go a long way in preventing sepsis in the hospitals and the critical patients, and lead to a significant saving of the resources. And these can be done at any place with proper following of the standard operating procedures.
Post-operative cleansing. The most appropriate and preferred cleansing solution is sterile normal saline because it is non-toxic and the isotonic solution does not damage healing tissues. The objective is to remove excess wound exudate or any mobile slough and wound debris. In choosing an antibiotic, one should consider the results of microbiological sensitivity tests and local sensitivity patterns. Please follow institutional antimicrobial policy for appropriate prophylaxis and treatment.
Well, infection control and prevention is extremely important and almost essential in every operation theatre. This starts with a good planning and design of the operation theatre with appropriate infection control practices, adequate sterilization techniques, and disinfection of the operation theatre. The awareness of the staff and their practices in the operation theatre is extremely important and plays a key role in prevention of operation theatre related infections. As far as the preoperative antibiotic is concerned, there are appropriate cases when one may use the preoperative antibiotics. However, it is not required for each and every patient. So overall, a general cleanliness of the operation theatre, the good practices of the staff, and a good infection and disinfection mechanism is important for prevention of hospital acquired or OT acquired infections.